Hey guys, welcome back to another market update. I'm joined with Jennifer and Patty. How you two doing?
Good, thanks.
Good.
Wonderful. Today is June 11th, so we have a couple days here into June to digest the May numbers and kind of lean into some of these early June numbers as well. Some of the early emerging signs in the market are that we might be turning a corner towards the end of spring and getting into summer. How are we feeling with our buyers? Are they remaining hesitant? Are they eager to offer? How are we feeling with our sellers? And then we'll dive in.
So with buyers, I would say that I think there is a certain amount of eagerness, but there's a lot of product to get through. So my buyer tours, I could have 8 properties to kind of show them right now, unless they're really specific. I mean, if I have a buyer that has a certain pet and needs a certain pet restriction and they only want ground floor and they only want, certain neighborhoods, of course, those are unicorns. And so you wait till they come up. But if you're open and you've been pre-approved for, say, like you're trying to buy a 2-bedroom for 600,000 or 700,000, somewhere in there, I can give you a tour for 8 properties. And that's a lot.
That's a lot. That's a lot.
What do you think, sellers, Patti?
Well, I think sellers are paying attention to what is going on because they can see that the market shifted. And let's get to what's really been happening. So the market has shifted. We've gone from 20 showings in a week to 1 to 2 showings a week for 20 weeks. Same amount of buyers are coming through. But the problem is everybody's, as you said, Jen, working through the inventory and somewhat hesitant because we do still have a fair amount of instability in the world. And so that creates this whole little bit of angst on the part of everyone involved, buyers and sellers. However, the market is still pretty strong. There are still lots of people looking. And that's the part that is the most interesting to me. It's not that they're not making a decision. It's that they're taking their time making a decision, but people are making decisions. And we are working with many people right now that want to move, whether they are a buyer or a seller. And so, it just takes a little longer, but this is a normal market.
Yes.
And so, thank goodness we're back. That's what I say, because people get to make a choice with time and thought, and we're not pressuring them to hurry up and write because 7 other people are. This is a beautiful time to buy. And for sellers, if you're priced right, as we've seen last week, we put 2 brand new listings out. They're both tied up in offers. The sellers listened to what the market was doing. They priced it correctly, and they both have a very successful outcome. Are there still places and product that is in a gray area that's not getting any kind of activity? Yes, that is true. Are there still areas where there is no inventory? That's true too. Like, I can look at certain pockets of things that people are looking for, as you said, Jen, and not so specific, not just has to be ground floor, not south backyard, not there are actual pockets, neighborhoods, price points where there's really no inventory.
Right.
So yeah, we definitely have an increase in inventory. Yes, we have a slowdown in how people decide, but it has not stopped the market. And so we need to be grateful for that.
Right on. I think that was a pretty good summary of the entire market update that we have here, but let's dive into the numbers and show
Sorry.
some specifics. The May 2025 total number of sales is 2,228. It's an 18.5% decrease from May 2024. It's a 30.5% decrease below the 10-year seasonal average. Month over month, it's actually up 3%. So I'm going to skip a couple of questions I had for you because we've kind of already answered those ones with buyer psychology and what they're looking for.
Sorry, Adam.
No worries. I like that we're getting right to it. With 2025 sales kind of tracking similar to what we saw in 2019 and 2020, do we believe we're due for a second half rebound?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. You know what? I was thinking about this just the other day, because you know how we have this spring market and everybody believes, oh, you put your house on the market
Yes.
in March and then you move by June and then you're ready for the school year. And then every so often a year comes along, and I've been around for enough to know, a year comes along where everything happens in this very short time period, and it can actually be the middle of summer.
Yes.
And I thought, oh my God,
Mhm.
that's what's going to happen this year. So let's see what happens. It's a powder keg of people wanting to do something. And eventually it all happens. It always happens every year.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, I kind of agree with Patty. I mean, of course, we're not, we don't have a crystal ball, which would be very nice. And I'll probably say that every podcast. But yeah, I think that if we were to name this podcast, it would be Opportunity Knocks. So, this kind of idea that you have time to decide, I think that sellers and buyers can be more intentional. And if they speak to their mortgage professional and look at possibly kind of moving up, this is such an ideal opportunity for that exact thing to happen. So I think it's just whether people are kind of, brave enough when they're watching the news and hearing all the global unrest. And if they just tone that down, look at their lives, understand their needs, it's opportunity knocks. And so that could lead to a rebound. Not necessarily, but it could.
And
Well,
Jen,
isn't that always the funny? Yeah, go ahead, Patty.
well, just to Jen's point, Adam, Jen and I went to a showing yesterday, and we're in the complex, and the buyer says, what do you think? And I said, hey, this is what this is. It's called opportunities knocking. And I said, you either answer the door or you don't. It's up to
Yeah.
you. But the reality is you're moving up in the market, and therefore it's a slight advantage to you, because yes, your property is going to sell for less than it did 6 months ago, but the property that you are buying is also going to sell for less, and the difference will be weighted in your favor. So it's an absolutely fabulous time if you're moving up. Absolutely fabulous.
Yep.
And it's just opportunity. Sometimes we take it, sometimes we don't. And sometimes we're happy about that decision, and sometimes we're regretful we didn't jump in.
Yeah, exactly. How many times have we heard those people that said, you told me this was the time to jump, and I was just too freaked out. You told me. I'm kicking myself.
Someone said that to me last week. They said, you told us to buy that house, and we didn't.
I remember that.
And I said,
I was there. Yeah.
Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
A million other things could have happened. You could have had a
doors
really bad
open.
neighbor.
Right.
We don't know, right? Don't go there. But the point is, if you make the decision, then move forward with intention, as Jen said, and listen to what we provide you with stats. We are not you're right. We don't have a crystal ball, but we know how to read the market. That's what we do. We are professionals, and that's what we do. And if you need information about what's going on, we are happy to talk to you personally about it.
When we're talking about sales, we can see that this is the slowest start that we've had in almost a decade. Bank of Canada came out. They held their rate. We're still holding 2.75 for the last couple rate calls. Do you guys see any specific factors that would spark a recovery in the market?
I mean, I think that's a difficult one to comment on. I think that, we hear in the news that there's this kind of tariff talk, and then there's talk about, NATO spending. And I'm not trying to make this, real estate podcast a geopolitical kind of talk, but I think that there are too many factors for me to comment on that. What do you guys think?
I definitely don't think rates are actually part of the equation right now, if that makes sense. I don't think people are saying, oh my God, they're too high,
No.
or oh gosh,
Agreed.
golly gee whiz, I can't do it, because I think they're quite comfortable with the rates right now.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody seems too stressed about that, because they're not that bad. You can get a 3-year mortgage for 4.34 right now. That's pretty reasonable.
Yeah.
Remember, I started in 1987 and rates were 13.5%. So what is what is 4.34, right? People still buy and sell in any market, and the rates don't seem to be the issue. I
Yeah.
still believe, Adam, I still believe there is pent up demand. There's pent up, I want to do something, and I believe it will happen this year. I just couldn't peg the exact amount.
Moving on. When we're talking about properties newly listed for sale on the MLS, there's 6,620 new homes listed. It's 4% up from May 2024. Month over month, it's actually down 3.4%. And when we're talking about new inventory here and with more sellers entering the market, as the listing agent, how do you advise clients on pricing strategy, high inventory, and let's be honest, just low demand or just hesitant demand?
Well, it isn't that difficult when you're in a neighborhood to pinpoint approximate value. I mean, we have enough inventory that has sold in the last 6 months to use for people to compare to. One of the things I am telling people is you kind of want to be the next one that sells, because every price that comes down sets the new benchmark for what a buyer thinks is happening. And whether or not it's true, the perception of buyers right now is that the market is falling rapidly, and they are writing offers on that basis. And when their offers are rejected, most of the time they come back reasonably, not all the time, but most of the time, and things still get sold. But it's that perception that's hurting and bringing the market down a tiny bit more each time. So I'm telling people, you want to be the next one that sells. So let's pay attention to what that price is and then price it accordingly.
Yeah.
Do you think this could be like a last chance market for some sellers before there's further price corrections then?
Ooh, I think everything levels out eventually, and I would say we're close, in my opinion. I think we're really close. Yeah. I don't think it's going up though. Like, I don't think we're taking the opposite trajectory.
Right.
So I believe we are we're going to be in a holding pattern soon, because the other thing is most people really don't need to sell. They have other options. We have, if you've got a fair amount of equity in your home, or if you've been pre-approved with, the last few years where you had that built-in protection so that if the rates increase, they knew that you could still afford. Everyone can adjust their living style. Everyone can adjust how they live so that they can afford to deal with any changes in the market. So there's very little desperation in this market.
Right.
I don't see it. I haven't seen it. So I would, and maybe it's my client base, but I don't see it. So then therefore they don't sell if it's not the price that they want. So I don't see a major crisis happening. Nothing's looming in my mind. It's just simply a normal market, and that's okay. I like them.
Moving on now to total inventory. So the total number of homes for sale on the MLS it's about 17,100. It's a 26% increase compared to last year. And we are about 46% below the 10-year seasonal average. So now we've crested that 17,000 point in inventory. And I remember, Patti, when we first started doing the podcast, we said, the market would significantly change once we get into this level. And now we're living it. So when I go back and I look at the last time we had 17,000 listings, I have to go back to about 2008 to about 2010. And when I look at CMHC, the total inventory in Greater Vancouver exceeded 17,000 listings for 14 consecutive months, 2008, 2009. And then there were blips for the next 5 years. Like it would get up, but it would come right back down to 10,000 listings in the wintertime.
But don't forget, okay, so 2008, there were different factors that were much scarier. Much scarier. And I can remember the fall of 2008. I can remember the November, December market. I can remember selling a house where the people were leaving and going to Germany. And it was a little house in the Mons. And the price that they had to take was horrific, in my opinion, but they needed to sell. And that's not happening right now. That's not what's happening. It's a different kind of market. So that in itself makes me feel even more optimistic because, yeah, we've got a lot of inventory, but we also, if we go back to, I've said this every month for the last 6 podcasts. If I take apart the listings that are for sale right now and tease out who's overpriced, I would say 25 to 33% of them are so grossly overpriced that they will not sell at even, like, there are listings right now that I could show you that are $1 million over what I believe they will sell for. That's ridiculous.
I totally agree.
That is ridiculous.
I totally agree. Mm-hmm. That's silly. It's like they shouldn't even be listed because they're not going to get showings. They certainly aren't going to get offers. They're not even really part of this number. Yeah.
And yet they're clogging up the system. Right. So they're lending the idea that we are oversupplied. And really, if we tease those out, are we? Are we really?
Yeah. I think one of the most interesting pockets of inventory that I've seen increase during this time are 1-bedroom listings.
Yeah.
And I would say, like,
they always have their turn.
Yeah. And it's really the turn of the 1-bedroom listing. And so I would just like to say, if there are any people out there renting and you have been able to save and you're hesitating because you're not sure and all this kind of stuff, be very careful. This could be your time, your foothold, your chance. And I know it. I know owning real estate and signing up for that mortgage and kind of indenturing yourself to saying, I'm going to pay this every single, and all this kind of stuff. But if you're going to do it, seriously consider talking to a mortgage professional right now. Think about it. I think the pricing is unbelievable and there's a lot of choice. Yeah. And like, this is your chance to go for it.
There's a lot of nice choice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like neighborhoods, great square footage, safe buildings, near Canada Line, like all these neat things. Like I look at it and I think, if I was a young person, I'd be like, now's my time.
It's time.
Yeah.
So talk to me a little bit more about this, because right now we're sitting here saying you have an opportunity. This could be a good time. There's a ton of opportunity. Like, there's things to choose from. But when we start doing showings and we get 1 showing a week or 2 showings a week and it's kind of dragging out, do buyers still feel like they're catching a falling knife?
Well, maybe, but look, if you go out and you have the intention that you're going to consider buying, then I can guarantee if you're a 1-bedroom shopper right now and you go look at 30 listings, you're going to like one of them enough to buy it, because there's some pretty good availability right now, really good opportunities. Jen is 100% right. And Adam, it's not just a logical, I know you think logically all the time, but it's not logical. It's emotional. No. And if I walk, I could walk into 31 bedroom apartments and go, for 27 of them, say no way.
No. Yeah.
But there are going to be 2 or 3 that are going to catch my heart. And right now is the best opportunity anyone's had to buy for many years. In that particular segment of the market.
Right? I know.
Yeah, very good, Jen.
Listen, I completely agree with you. Right? I'm just asking the question just to kind of poke the bear and spur some conversation.
Yeah.
I think we've said it before.
You are pretty logical.
Of course, right? But I look at this market and I say to myself and I say to my other buyers, like, if you see yourself in a place for 7+ years, you're going to be there. You're going to see the market do some funny things in those 7 years, but I'm pretty confident about Metro Vancouver real estate in the long term.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, indeed. Mm-hmm. Yes.
So guys, we're going to wrap things up, and I have one final question for my panel. In your opinion, when we're talking about this market, where it's going, where it's been, what do you think are the 3 greatest opportunities that we're seeing in today's market?
I know of at least 2. So I would go back to, if you're a first-time home buyer, or even if you're just trying to get back in the market, that 1-bedroom property it's gold right now. Go for it, jump in. I don't think you'll be sorry. I think go take advantage. And then the other one that is just so important right now, if you are thinking of moving up, this is your time. This is the move up market. So those are the 2 I would say.
And I'd pick the third as if you are if you're looking for something as an investment for the future, you might want to build a big house. You might want to hold, whatever that is.
Mm.
There's a lot of opportunity right now in that not perfect home on a big lot that you can rent out in the short term. So
That's
there's
a great
lot
tip.
of that. There's a lot of good ones. So yeah, we're here to help. If you have any questions, we would love to help out.
Thanks, guys. That's a lot of information. To our audience, if you're watching us on YouTube or on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, please like it. Please comment. If you know of anybody that would find this information useful and helpful, please share it. It would really help us out. And we'll see you next month.